You just heard from Congressman Alan Grayson, arguably one of the most progressive and most successfully progressive legislators in the United States Congress. He's in the House of Representatives. He's running in the primary to represent Florida as one of their senators, actually. And he was speaking about how this TPP deal is being signed in New Zealand today. It probably, given the time zone difference, I don't know if they follow us or precede us. It might already be done, or it might be about to be done. And the horrors of it. And he's got a great website, Trade Treachery, and he's got a 9-minute video tube that over 1 million people have watched on how awful this thing is. So that's from the left. From the right, Curtis Ellis is the communication director at ObamaTrade.com and the executive director of the American Jobs Alliance, a conservative think tank, as it were, the website ObamaTrade.com. And Curtis, welcome back to the program.
Nice to be here, Tom.
It's always great having you. And
I was listening to your interview with Mr. Grayson.
You heard it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What would you add to what he said?
Oh, I would add that this is this Trans-Pacific Partnership is a horrible disaster for American working people. And I don't know when it became wrong to talk about putting American workers first. Look, I have nothing against the people of Vietnam or Malaysia or Bangladesh or any place on earth. I have nothing against them. I don't hate them. But frankly, I care about American workers. I care about my neighbors. I care about the people in this country. And it's about time we started building this country and looking out for the people of this country.
I can tell you when...
You were talking about Flint. I remember when the GM jobs were in Flint, and you couldn't drink the water in Mexico.
Right.
Now the GM jobs are in Mexico, and you can't drink the water in Flint. It is not a coincidence.
Right.
When we get rid of all of our industries, when we get rid of all of our jobs, we're also getting rid of all of our tax base, which supports water systems, which supports schools, which supports what we used to know quaintly, what is now a quaint memory, called the American standard of living.
Right.
I am proud to be an American. I am proud to look out for Americans first. And it's about time that those fellas down in Washington started thinking the same way. We elect them to promote the global economy or to raise 1 billion Chinese out of poverty. I have nothing against the Chinese, but I don't really give a rat's patootie about them. That's what I'd add to what Congressman Grayson said.
Well, you did it very well, and I can't disagree with a single word you said. However, you opened it with a question, and I'm guessing you probably meant it rhetorically, but there's an actual answer to it, and that was, when did we stop caring about whether we were buying American goods? And in 1935, as I recall, Franklin Roosevelt passed what was called the Buy American Act. Now, you can't obviously regulate the behavior of individual consumers, but you can regulate the behavior of the government. And the federal government at that time, as we were ramping up for war and trying to beat the Great Depression, the federal government at that time was over 20% of GDP. Now it's in the neighborhood of 20% of GDP. And so what that law said was that any federal government agency, any government agency that buys anything, whether it's a desk, whether it's typewriter paper, whether it's a typewriter, whether it's new curtains for the whatever it may be, it has to be sourced from an American manufacturer. And if you can't find an American manufacturer, then you have to go to the executive branch of government, the White House, and get a waiver. And up until the 1980s, those waivers were very hard to come by, and virtually everything made in every government office in the United States was made in the United States. The furniture was made in South Carolina. The wallpaper and drapes were made in Louisiana. You know the drill, right? Mm-hmm. And what Reagan started doing was giving away waivers as if they were water. Anybody, any agency that had the smallest amount of difficulty finding something, or could even just find cheaper versions overseas, because that was the Republican mantra. Not to trash you and your party, but the Republican mantra was, we've got to save money, and so they started passing out these waivers. Reagan started it in a big way. Bush expanded it. Clinton expanded it even further. So did George W. Bush. And Obama's still doing it. So basically, we have no more Buy American Act. I mean, it used to be that virtually 100% before Reagan of the 20% of our entire economy that was represented by government activity was purely supportive of American industry. And now The only part of it that's supportive of American industry is the defense part, and even a lot of our defense stuff is made overseas. As you and I have discussed, we can't build a cruise missile without chips from China.
And we can't build the new Joint Strike Fighter plane without rare earth components from China.
Exactly.
We don't do any of that here.
Exactly. So I think it's time, as a starting point at least, and this is something that the president could do as a matter of policy. This is, Paul Krugman had a great piece a couple days ago saying, personnel is policy. He could direct whoever in whatever department it is in charge of the Buy America Act to start directing federal agencies that they're not going to get any more waivers. And, you may have to wait an extra year to get that furniture because they're going to have to rebuild the factory or turn it back on again. But you're going to have to, you're going to have to start buying American. That sounds like a good starting point.
Tom, but this is the president who sent his envoy, Michael Froman, to negotiate a deal which basically outlaws Buy America.
Oh, I know. Not just basically, it actually does. The Buy American Act will become illegal under the TPP.
Right. The United States will become illegal under the TPP. Essentially, This is the first step towards a European Union type setup with countries on the
so on the Democratic side, we don't know about Hillary Clinton. She 45 times called it the gold standard. She's now said she's got some problems with it. She would renegotiate it. Bernie Sanders has always said, to hell with all the trade deals. Who on the Democratic side, who you think has a chance of becoming president, might repudiate this? Or are they simply being pushed that way by Donald Trump?
You mean who on the Republican side?
Pardon my mistake.
Well, it's Donald Trump is the one who's pushing everybody, and for 25 years he's been saying these trade deals are crap.
Right.
There's a clip of him on Oprah Winfrey show in 1988.
Yeah, but when he's gone, do you think that they're going to stay to that, or do you think they're going to go back to where the money is?
I think they will go back to where the money is. I think Ted Cruz has been on both sides of the issue. Now he's against it, and he says unequivocally he will vote against it.
Right. Hang on just a second.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
Curtis Ellis, he's the communications director over at ObamaTrade.com, the executive director of the American Jobs Alliance. If you have conservative friends and you want to discuss this issue, send them to ObamaTrade.com. Thank you, Curtis. To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.